In an ambitious and contentious move, President Donald Trump announced the imposition of significant tariffs on goods imported from Canada, Mexico, and China, marking a provocative start to his administration's trade policy. Set to take effect on February 1, 2025, the tariffs will impose a steep 25% tax on imports from the North American neighbors and a 10% tariff on Chinese goods. This decision signals Trump's intent to leverage American economic power to reshape international trade dynamics, but it raises critical concerns about potential repercussions for U.S. consumers and the broader economy. In defending his approach, Trump asserted, "You see the power of the tariff. Nobody can compete with us because we have by far the biggest piggy bank." His strategy appears rooted in the belief that such tariffs could compel foreign nations to negotiate better trade agreements while addressing issues like illegal immigration and the opioid crisis, particularly fentanyl smuggling from China. However, the immediate response from financial markets was telling. The S&P 500 index experienced a downturn following the announcement, reflecting investor unease about the potential disruption to economic stability. Tariffs, essentially taxes levied on imports, are designed to discourage foreign competition by making imported goods more expensive. They tend to be passed down to consumers, leading to higher prices for everyday products. For instance, an analysis from the Peterson Institute for International Economics estimated that a 20% universal tariff could cost the average American household about $2,600 annually. The Tax Foundation echoed these concerns, predicting an average increase of $1,253 in household expenses in 2025 due to a 10% tariff. The potential implications of Trump's tariffs extend to a wide array of consumer goods. Economists warn that the costs may disproportionately affect lower-income households. Products sourced from China, such as toys, furniture, and electronics, could see notable price increases. For example, the Toy Association indicated that prices for toys imported from China could rise by as much as 56%, which would substantially inflate the cost of popular items like a $20 Barbie doll to approximately $31.20. Similarly, the automotive and agricultural sectors are poised to face increased costs for cars, beer, and fresh produce. Critics of the tariffs, including various economists, have highlighted that while they may aim to protect domestic manufacturing, they often lead to retaliatory measures from affected countries. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has already signaled that Canada is prepared to respond forcefully if the tariffs are implemented. The history of past trade disputes suggests that such retaliatory tariffs can inflict significant damage on American industries, particularly those reliant on exports such as agriculture. Moreover, the broader economic landscape is fraught with uncertainty. An analysis by Nationwide's Economics Division projected that Trump's tariffs could inflate consumer prices by as much as 0.5 percentage points while concurrently dampening economic growth by 0.7 percentage points. The complexities of global supply chains mean that industries like transportation and automotive could face drastic increases in import taxes, potentially rising from $4 billion to $68 billion annually due to the tariffs. As Trump continues to advocate for tariffs as a means to bolster U.S. economic strength, the real-world impacts remain to be seen. The administration's insistence that foreign nations will bear the burden of these tariffs overlooks the historical evidence that consumers are typically the ones who ultimately pay. George Ball, chairman of investment management firm Sanders Morris, succinctly noted, "Ultimately, the cost of tariffs will be paid by us, the consumer." As the trade landscape evolves, the uncertainty surrounding these tariffs is already prompting businesses to reconsider their investment strategies and supply chains. The lack of clarity regarding exemptions and specific implementations has created an environment of chaos and hesitation among companies heavily reliant on imports. In conclusion, the introduction of these tariffs by the Trump administration represents a significant shift in U.S. trade policy, one that could have far-reaching effects on consumers and the economy. While Trump remains optimistic that these measures will lead to better trade deals and greater economic security, the immediate ramifications could very well lead to higher prices and strained international relations. As stakeholders await further developments, it is clear that the unfolding trade dynamics will be pivotal in shaping the economic landscape in the coming months. In a world increasingly dominated by artificial intelligence, the emergence of China's DeepSeek chatbot has sparked significant interest and debate within the tech community. Promoted as a game-changer in AI technology, DeepSeek has been lauded for its advanced functionalities and cost-effective development. However, its responses to politically sensitive topics reveal a landscape more complicated than its technical prowess suggests. The chatbot, developed under the stringent regulations imposed by the Chinese government, demonstrates a clear tendency to avoid or sanitize discussions surrounding contentious issues. During testing both in Chinese and English, DeepSeek's responses varied dramatically based on the subject matter, particularly when political sensitivities arose. For instance, inquiries about Taiwan's sovereignty elicited starkly different answers. The Chinese version unequivocally stated Taiwan has always been an inseparable part of China, aligning with the official narrative of the Chinese Communist Party (CCP). In stark contrast, the English version initially provided a nuanced analysis of Taiwan's governance and international standing, only to retract it moments later, opting instead to redirect the conversation. This pattern continued across various politically charged topics. Questions regarding Taiwan's elections and political parties were met with official slogans in Chinese, while the English responses offered comprehensive breakdowns before being swiftly deleted. The chatbot's response to inquiries about the Tiananmen Square protests and the plight of the Uyghur Muslim community in Xinjiang showcased similar self-censorship. Both the English and Chinese responses began with substantial content but were quickly replaced with the phrase, "Let's talk about something else." The implications of DeepSeek's self-censorship are profound. This behavior reflects not only the capabilities of the AI but also the pervasive influence of the Chinese government's control over public discourse. The chatbot's design appears to cater to state-approved narratives, particularly in sensitive areas like human rights and governance. While the English version of DeepSeek may provide a more balanced perspective initially, the rapid deletion of such responses highlights the precarious nature of discourse within China, where certain topics remain strictly off-limits. Furthermore, DeepSeek's approach extends to non-political questions as well. Inquiries about travel and cuisine in Taiwan were similarly met with political framing in the Chinese version, while the English responses offered detailed and informative guides. This inconsistency raises questions about the chatbot's reliability and the extent to which it can be trusted to deliver factual information without government influence. The broader context in which DeepSeek operates is one of increasing scrutiny over AI technologies globally. As nations grapple with the implications of AI in shaping public opinion and disseminating information, the case of DeepSeek serves as a cautionary tale. It illustrates how AI can be wielded not just as a tool for knowledge and assistance but also as a means of reinforcing state narratives and suppressing dissent. Looking ahead, the development of AI technologies like DeepSeek will undoubtedly continue to provoke discussion about the ethical implications of these systems, particularly in authoritarian contexts. The future of AI in China will likely remain intertwined with the country's political climate and regulatory framework, raising critical questions about freedom of expression and access to information. As AI evolves, so too will the strategies employed by governments to manage its impact on society. The world will be watching closely as the interplay between technology and governance unfolds in real time. In a bold and controversial move, President Donald Trump has announced new trade tariffs targeting Canada, Mexico, and China, marking a significant escalation in his administration's trade policy. Set to take effect on February 1, 2025. These tariffs, 25% on imports from the North American neighbors and 10% on goods from China, are designed to leverage the United States' economic might but come with the risk of stoking inflation and disrupting global trade dynamics. Trump's rhetoric around the tariffs underscores his belief in their power as a negotiation tool. "You see the power of the tariff," he stated during a press briefing. "Nobody can compete with us because we have by far the biggest piggy bank." Yet while he casts the tariffs as a means to reshape international trade to the U.S.'s advantage, economists and market analysts warn of potential backlash. The S&P 500 index saw a decline as investors reacted to the announcement, reflecting concerns over the broader economic implications. Historical context is essential to understanding the current tariffs. Tariffs were historically a primary source of government revenue before the introduction of the federal income tax in 1913. Trump's administration appears to be reviving this method of economic policy, albeit with significant ramifications. The president's justification for this approach leans heavily on a nostalgic view of the U.S. economy, which he claims thrived under high tariffs in the late 19th century. "We were the richest country in the world," Trump asserted, harking back to a time when tariffs dominated economic strategy. The immediate effects of these tariffs are poised to ripple through various sectors, notably impacting consumer prices. The National Retail Federation has estimated that American households could face up to $7.600 in additional costs annually due to the tariffs. Economists project that inflation could rise by as much as 0.5 percentage points as a direct consequence, with some forecasts indicating a larger impact. Ryan Sweet, chief U.S. economist for Oxford Economics, has indicated that the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation measure could climb to 3% by the end of the year, a notable increase from the 2.8% recorded in December. The implications for international relations cannot be understated. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has voiced his intent to retaliate should the tariffs go into effect, echoing concerns that such actions undermine relationships with key allies. Trudeau remarked, "It's not what we want, but if he moves forward, we will also act." Mexico, too, has prepared countermeasures, with President Claudia Sheinbaum indicating readiness to respond to U.S. actions. The potential for economic retaliation could exacerbate this situation further. Many economists have noted that tariffs not only raise costs for consumers domestically but can also trigger reciprocal measures from affected nations, leading to a tit-for-tat escalation that harms U.S. exports. Historical evidence suggests that previous tariffs imposed by the Trump administration have not yielded the anticipated job growth or economic benefits. Moreover, the impact on consumer goods and everyday life is profound. Goods ranging from toys, where costs could increase by as much as 56%, to automotive products and agricultural imports are likely to see price hikes. Import duties on raw materials used in manufacturing, particularly in the auto industry, could lead to increased prices for vehicles and components, affecting both manufacturers and consumers alike. As the dust settles from this latest trade maneuver, the coming months will be crucial in assessing the actual economic impact of these tariffs. With the specter of higher inflation looming and potential retaliatory actions from neighboring countries, Trump's bold strategy raises questions about its long-term viability and the broader implications for the global economy. Looking ahead, the administration's trade policies seem poised to remain a focal point, with further tariffs on various goods already hinted at by Trump. While he envisions a path to economic revitalization through these measures, the reality may well be a complicated landscape of increased costs, strained international relations, and a potential backlash from voters who may feel the pinch at the checkout counter. The unfolding situation will undoubtedly warrant close scrutiny as it develops, revealing the true costs of this aggressive trade strategy. In recent months, the geopolitical landscape surrounding Taiwan has intensified, highlighting the complex dynamics of military power and strategy in the region. Reports indicate a significant surge in the number of Chinese military incursions into Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone (ADIZ), with violations tripling from 972 in 2021 to over 3,100 in 2023. This alarming trend has raised concerns among defense analysts and policymakers, who interpret these actions as part of a broader strategy by Beijing to exert pressure and potentially rehearse for an invasion. The increase in ADIZ violations is not merely a statistic but a reflection of China's evolving military posture and its aspirations in the region. Analysts suggest that these flights serve multiple purposes, including intelligence gathering, testing of military capabilities, and signaling political resolve. A recent study by military experts Kenneth Allen, Gerald Brown, and Thomas Shattuck outlines how these incursions align with significant geopolitical events, such as U.S. military exercises and diplomatic engagements with Taiwan. According to their analysis, the ADIZ incursions occur for several purposes, with China's overarching goal of putting military pressure on Taiwan and its international partners beneath the threshold of conflict. The report also notes a concerning absence of China's most advanced stealth fighter, the J-20, from these sorties. This omission raises questions about the operational readiness of one of China's premier military assets and suggests that Beijing may be shielding it from close-range scrutiny by Taiwanese air defenses. This strategic caution could indicate a lack of confidence in the aircraft's performance in contested environments, further complicating China's military calculus. As tensions escalate, the United States and its allies have responded with heightened vigilance. North American Aerospace Defense Command NORAD recently conducted combat air patrols in response to Russian military flights in the Arctic, showcasing a commitment to maintaining security in the face of evolving threats. The coordination of air patrols by U.S. and Canadian forces underscores a broader strategy to counteract aggressive military posturing by adversarial nations, including both China and Russia. China's military developments are not confined to the air, they also encompass naval and undersea capabilities. The PLA has been observed attempting to enhance multi-domain coordination among its forces, including submarines, fighter jets, and surface vessels. This integration is crucial for bolstering China's operational effectiveness and reflects a strategic shift toward joint warfare capabilities. However, the actual effectiveness of these networking efforts remains uncertain. The researchers' findings indicate that while China has made strides in joint training exercises, the true extent of its capabilities may be overstated, particularly regarding secure real-time data sharing among platforms. Moreover, China's air power is at a disadvantage compared to the United States. Global Firepower estimates that the U.S. Air Force operates approximately 10,000 more total aircraft than China, with a notable deficit in fifth-generation capabilities. This disparity is particularly pronounced in the maritime domain, where the U.S. Navy boasts advanced carrier-launched aircraft such as the F-35, which significantly enhance its power projection capabilities. In contrast, China's J-20 is primarily land-launched, limiting its operational scope at sea and exposing it to vulnerabilities in a potential conflict scenario. Amid these developments, the question arises: how prepared are Taiwan and the U.S. to deter a possible rapid Chinese assault? The Pentagon's assessments suggest that any Chinese attempt to occupy Taiwan might involve a strategy of fait accompli, seeking to establish control over the island before a coordinated international response could be mounted. Such a move could involve a combination of ballistic missile strikes, naval operations, and rapid troop deployment designed to overwhelm Taiwan's defenses quickly. As the situation evolves, the implications for regional stability are profound. The increasing frequency of ADIZ violations not only serves as a demonstration of China's military ambitions but also highlights the challenges faced by Taiwan and its allies in maintaining a credible defense posture. The delicate balance of power in the Taiwan Strait hinges on a myriad of factors, including military capabilities, strategic alliances, and the resolve of the international community to respond to aggression. Looking ahead, the interplay of military innovation, geopolitical strategy, and the responses of regional actors will shape the future of security in the Indo-Pacific. The ongoing developments necessitate close monitoring and a robust dialogue among global leaders to prevent miscalculations that could lead to conflict. As the world watches these events unfold, the stakes have never been higher for Taiwan, the United States, and their allies in the face of an increasingly assertive China in the geopolitical chess game that has defined U.S.-China relations for over a decade. The return of Donald Trump to the White House has injected a renewed sense of urgency and complexity. As Trump reintroduces tariffs on Chinese imports, analysts suggest that China is not only prepared for retaliation but is also recalibrating its diplomatic strategies in light of shifting global dynamics. This latest round of tariffs announced by the White House adds a 10% levy on Chinese goods, purportedly justified as a necessary measure against the illegal flow of fentanyl into the United States. This move comes alongside similar tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico, underscoring a broader approach that seems to target perceived threats to U.S. national security. Dylan Lowen, assistant professor of foreign policy at Nanyang Technological University, noted that the new tariff is a significant reduction compared to earlier threats under Trump's first term. The 10% tariff indicates a more calculated approach, possibly reflecting a desire for negotiation rather than outright confrontation, he explained. This sentiment is echoed by many observers who believe that Beijing has learned from previous encounters and is strategically poised to respond with firm countermeasures. Analysts emphasize that China's diplomatic landscape has evolved since the earlier years of the Trump administration. This time, President Xi Jinping's government is reportedly ready to engage in a more dynamic form of diplomacy, seeking to mend ties with nations like Japan and India while simultaneously navigating the complexities of U.S. policy. Wu Xinbo, dean of the Institute of International Studies at Fudan University, remarked Trump's return to a more unilateralist approach may inadvertently create opportunities for China to enhance its relationships with U.S. allies. Indeed, as Trump's administration gears up for a more aggressive stance against China, it appears that nations traditionally aligned with the U.S. are also reassessing their positions. For instance, India and China are currently experiencing a thaw in relations following years of tension marked by high-level diplomatic engagements and discussions aimed at stabilizing ties. This new diplomatic momentum includes talks about resuming cultural exchanges and resolving lingering territorial disputes. Yet, as recent provocations from China, such as the establishment of new administrative regions in contested areas, illustrate, the path to lasting peace remains fraught with challenges. Further complicating the landscape is the testimony of Melanie Hart, senior director of the Global China Hub, before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Hart underscored the need for the U.S. to not only combat China's malign influence but to also solidify its own global governance strategies. She emphasized that the U.S. must remain fully engaged in international diplomacy to counter China's attempts to reshape global norms in its favor. When we disengage, we cede the playing field to China, she warned, highlighting the critical nature of U.S. participation in international organizations and its role in shaping global standards and norms. As tensions simmer, both nations are walking a tightrope in the face of an unpredictable geopolitical environment. Trump's administration may signal a shift toward a more aggressive economic policy, which could provoke further responses from China. However, observers remain cautiously optimistic that amid the rivalry there exists room for dialogue and negotiation. The upcoming months will likely be pivotal in determining whether the two powers can find common ground or whether historical rivalries will resurface in full force. In summary, as the U.S. re-engages with an assertive China under Trump's leadership, the global community watches closely. The interplay of tariffs, diplomatic overtures, and historical grievances will shape the trajectory of U.S.-China relations. Both countries face significant challenges and opportunities as they navigate this complex landscape. And the outcomes of their interactions will have lasting implications for global stability and economic cooperation. The question remains, can both nations balance competition with cooperation in a rapidly changing world? Only time will tell.